back, and I think you need to. Okay, sounds like I'm on. You can hear me? You guys can hear me?
Yeah. Gotcha.
No. All right, very good. So, a week ago, right about this time, actually, Mike, you called in, and something happened to you, and you had just texted me, and the text was a little incoherent, but the last four letters were help. And I said to Matt Kaufman, who was our producer, hey, Matt, something's wrong with Trucker Mike. I need to try and get a hold of him. And Matt said, don't worry, he's on the line. So we went back from commercial, and you called in. And you then called in. The call got dropped. We took another break, went to commercial. I tried to call you. You answered and then dropped the phone. And about that time, Dave Gurman, Dave from Gary, folks, called me. He has my cell phone number. He called and he said, Tom, well, go ahead. Tell him what happened.
It was kind of first of all, good morning to everyone. Mike,
good morning.
MX, Tom,
good morning,
good morning everyone. It was really kind of divine intervention on about 5 different ways on my end. Just coming down 8094, I traditionally listen to Chicago traffic because that's what I drive a semi for a living, just like Mike used to. And you came up, and that's right. It was right at the infancy of Mike calling in and listening to him for years. We've never met in person. I knew something immediately was wrong, and I was less than 5 minutes away. And for me, there was absolutely no hesitation. I had to go help my friend that I never met.
That you had never met, but you knew him through the radio broadcast.
Absolutely, yes.
And we talk about this all the time. Jed especially, he says, we're like one big family, and we really are, because what happened next was MX. I called you, and you were actually eating breakfast, I think, correct?
Yeah, I was eating breakfast with my ironworker friends.
And you said, I said, do you know where Trucker Mike is? Something's wrong. And you said, I know where he works. I'm leaving right now. And you hung up on me and you took off. And you went to the scene as well.
Well, I called Trucker Mike, and I said, what's the matter? And he says, I can't see, and I got a severe headache. And I said, I'll be right there.
Yeah, and so, again, for listeners and viewers who weren't listening when this actually happened, Mike, you're a good friend. You call in almost every day. I kind of figured something was wrong because I want to back up the clock. Usually you call in the 6 o'clock hour.
Yeah,
you didn't call that day.
Well, the whole thing was I went blurry, and I had to have my phone right to my face. And I have your phone number. I have 3 people important that I call. And I didn't know the number called the station. I thought it called your phone. And I thought you had your phone sitting like you always do there.
Right.
And said, hold on, we'll go on a commercial. Well, when you did that and said something about calling 911, that's when I dropped the phone.
Right.
And it was so blurry I couldn't see nothing on it. It was on the ground. And then when it started ringing, I'm scooching my feet around. I found it. And then I couldn't move. I stayed next to that truck. I didn't move. But see, the thing was I didn't hang up. I dropped the phone. And then, oh gosh. And then, real quick for him, Dave, he pulls up, gets me in this truck, ice cold, and all I thought was, okay, they didn't put me in the body bag. They got the air conditioning taking me to the morgue. I was so, I don't know if it was because I was so confused. I wasn't thinking or nothing. I mean, just instant, you can't see. You don't realize after 67 years old, you can't see nothing.
Yeah, and by the way, there were callers who were calling in saying, you need to call 911, and we couldn't call 911 because we didn't know exactly where you were. Luckily, Dave and MX know where you work, okay? And there were people who were actually texting me, and they were texting me saying that you worked on the east side of Gary, but you're on the west side of Gary, it ends up.
Yes.
And there were other people who were giving me addresses in Hammond. So people were trying to help out, but thank God that both of you knew exactly where he was. And so you got there first, Dave?
Yeah, just being in the industry, the trucking industry. Mike's a driving instructor, and there's a school there that helps people get into the industry, which is a growing industry, men and women. Women are coming in droves, and it's a great living. But I knew where he worked. I've seen him out there before. I do a lot of delivering on Blaine Street there, right off of just east of Klein Avenue. And so I knew where he worked. And coming into the lot, I knew that was him. And he was just standing there. He just couldn't move. And the reason I get him there. He's disoriented. He can't see me. He can hear me, but he can't see me. And I immediately grabbed him because he was a little shaky and complaining of a headache that he can't see. So there's all kind of, being a truck driver, we know all medical stuff too, right?
Sure.
So I'm just going through my mind. I gotta get him down. I gotta stabilize him. And he was really clammy. So I turned my air conditioner onto my truck, and the poor guy, I just about froze him out.
Well,
I was on the way to the morgue.
and right about then, MX shows up. Okay, so MX hightails it over there, and we won't talk about Dave or MX as far as you're driving under the limit that day. I think most police officers would give you a pass.
Cannot confirm or deny.
Yes, cannot confirm or deny that you may have exceeded the limit, but that's okay. So then MX, you pull up, right?
Yes, I did.
And basically, you and Dave again don't really know each other personally.
No.
But you've talked again. You've had opposing views and differences on the air, and not always. I mean, you agree sometimes too. But you pull up, and you start assisting Dave, and then as I understood it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when you both realized that the ambulance is going to have a tough time finding where you're actually at.
Right. When I first got there, I got him stabilized, kind of laid him down in the truck a little bit, and he was very disoriented. And that's when I called 911, and I cannot say enough about the Lake County E91 dispatcher. She stayed on the line, and I made a few phone calls and said, somebody has to go give her a pat on the back. She says, she goes, David, I'm going to stay with you till the ambulance comes. And so she kind of talked me off the cliff a little bit. I know he was going to be fine. And then the shift commander for Gary Fire, who did a tremendous job. She did pass the entrance because it's kind of a weird entrance. There's a couple businesses in there. And I went down, flagged her down, and that's when MX went and took a look at him. Now, we understand, I've never met him before. I knew it was him. I never met him. So I ran out to the street to flag her down in the ambulance, and I says, MX, take a look at him, see how he's doing. And, of course, they've known each other and seen each other multiple times. And he just looked at me and shook his head, and he says, you don't look good. And they got in, and Gary Fire, again, and the EMTs just did a magnificent job. I got a message to Chief Tillman in the Gary Fire Department to just say thank you. They got there really quick, too.
And MX, you got anything to add to that?
Yes, so when I pulled up, I can read faces, and I looked at Dave's face, and he looked shocked. Mm-hmm. So he says, come on over here. So I looked at Trucker Mike there, and immediately we shook hands. And now we've been at odds for how long, Dave? Ever since
you retired.
Yeah, you got mad at me for retiring too.
But tell the story. I mean, we grew up in the same town. We go to the same high school.
I'm sitting between these two guys.
I looked.
That's why.
I looked at Trucker Mike, and immediately I shook hands with Dave. And I know we had a job to do, and I took orders from Dave because he was in charge. And he was doing a good job. So what Trucker Mike looked like, and I'll describe it, is like I thought he poked a beehive, and his eye sockets were swollen shut, and it looked like somebody filleted the white part of his eyes. Ain't that right, Dave?
Absolutely.
It looked like his eyes were going to start bleeding. So I told him, I said, Trucker Mike, you're going to be okay. Only I know this because racing motocross, I've been in a ambulance so many times, I know what to say because I've been there. You know, you're going to be okay, Trucker Mike. We're going to get you to the hospital. We're going to get this over, and everything's going to be all right. Mm-hmm. And as I was watching Dave doing an excellent job telling the woman to come in from the EMT, mm-hmm. Dave was done. So it was, I assisted Dave. Dave was in charge. And
but there's another part of the story with you because they get him in the ambulance, all right, and then you agreed to follow the ambulance to the hospital, right?
MX did the heavy lifting here. He spent time with him.
And so well, not only did he do heavy lifting, but I want listeners and viewers
mm-hmm.
to know that you actually called me at 7:12 that evening and said, hey, Tom, it's MX. You had just texted me, then you called me and said, hey, Tom, it's MX. I'm going to go home now and get some dinner. And mm-hmm. I said, well, where are you? And you said, well, I'm still at the hospital. You stayed the entire day at that hospital mm-hmm. with Trucker Mike. Right. So you didn't just follow him to the hospital, but you stayed there for 12 hours. And then you were back there the next day as well.
Well,
and the next day.
Somebody in my family really close to me was diagnosed with aneurysm. So, you know, when I went there, I watch everything. You know, what would you say? I'm an emergency room junkie because I've been in them so many times.
Well, you know the signs.
So first of all, and Gary Methodist did a great job, and we got to thank the man upstairs, okay, for connecting us. So I think, and I do believe, and I know, they were giving him something. I said, why are you giving him that for an aneurysm? Because we thought he had an aneurysm.
Yeah,
headache. I can't see, and they're giving him something out in left field. Well, after they took the CT scan, the angiogram, and the MRI, they came back with a diagnosis. Now, they knew from the second they looked at him what he had, but they had to do protocol. Mm-hmm. You mind, Trucker Mike, if...
You're my doctor.
So this...
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Just don't smoke no funny cigarettes. We'll start off with them. No, anyways. No funny cigarettes.
Funny cigarettes is for one certain person.
Yeah, not you. But that's just an inside joke. So
yes.
The doctor, very nice. I mean, these people, and I've been in a lot of emergency rooms, believe me, with motocross, and that was top-notch care. That Gary Methodist was top-notch, believe me. So the neurologist comes up to me, and he says, your buddy there has, they call it, now I'm not a doctor, temporal, like in temple, arteritis. Not arthritis, but arteritis. And what that means is that something is attacking his cerebral artery. So the medication that they gave him in the beginning was for an immune disease. So that, and I don't want to say his medications, but we all know what you give for immune disease. So when they were pumping, every time they come back with a test, he's got no aneurysms. And they said, with a CT scan, if you have a stroke, you have to wait a while for it to show up. Mm-hmm. But don't sue me because you gave me authority to do this.
What worried me, Dr. MX.
What worried me?
You've created a monster right there.
It's terrifying to think that MX is now our medical professional here at WJOB.
I was with him there when he had your first
stroke,
and he's got a
thing they put in there.
Stent.
Yeah.
So, everything's coming back from the CT scan, angiogram, and the MRI. But they're still pumping him with the juice, Man, what are you putting that juice in there for?
And they're all coming back negative. They're all coming back negative.
But they're pumping him with this juice. And the juice, and his immune system didn't shut off and attacked his cerebral artery. They call it giant cell arteritis or temporal arteritis. And you know what? That tells me that the person that I was with in February, close to me and my family, they were pumping her with the juice.
Well, 845-1100 is the number to call, and I just want to check with Joe. Do we have a caller? Okay, because Vinny had called in when we were getting ready to get you guys on the air, and Vinny just wanted to say that he's happy that you're doing well, Mike, and he really truly thanked you guys for what you did.
We did so much stuff helping so many people on this station. I mean, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Okay, this station, all the listeners, people watching, everywhere where this station goes, you need to tell your family, your friends, get focused on this station because look what happened. We all came together. We're a family. I mean.
Well, you wouldn't have that happen
Everybody
in a lot of other
eat.
settings. So I agree with you. We are a family. And
this station is awesome.
It's, again, to me, I was just glad that we were able to help you. And, it shows that, again, we can differ on things. We can differ on political candidates. We can differ on politics and just anything and everything. But we can walk away as friends. And that's what really talk radio and WJOB is all about, that you've got two gentlemen who, again, don't always agree on politics or other issues, but when it comes time to helping an individual in distress, you guys worked as a team. You worked as a team. You worked together, and really, Mike, they saved your life.
Oh, I tell you, it was so blurry. I can hear voices. Plus, I was probably just like going in shock, or I wasn't thinking. I can just hear voices, and all you people, everybody that did this, that's what it's about. Is we're all human beings, and we just come to help, regardless of what it is. We all just come together and help one another.
Well, and again, the people asked, Walt asked this morning, I think it was, how did the Chicago news media pick it up?
That's why I'm sitting there. I was wondering why. I thought I called you on your cell phone, not the station.
Well, you had called my cell, then you called the station, then you called my cell. I'm sorry. You called my cell, then you called the station, then I called you. But nonetheless, the Chicago news media picked up the story. Some friends of mine are friends of mine on Facebook. They saw my post about what happened. I was getting a lot of calls during the day about how you were doing, and MX was keeping me in the loop. So I decided that I would just go ahead and post something. Didn't use a lot of details. And a friend of mine from Fox Chicago called me and said, "Hey, we want to do a story about what happened," because their point is that, and then the Times called me. Joseph Pete called and said the same thing, and they're both reporters' points was, this doesn't occur every day. This is what's really good about, just when you think the fabric of America is falling apart, you find out that everything's just fine. That you can have guys who don't even know each other jump into high gear. I mean, again, David never met you, but he knew where you worked, and he took it upon himself to go right over there and assist you. And MX, the fact that you put 12 hours that day into assisting Mike is pretty remarkable. And it's a comment on what's good in America and what's good that's going on, and we appreciate
what scared me.
Tom,
what scared?
Tom,
yes.
I do want to say you have to get a lot of credit to yourself.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so.
Yes, because you put it down, and when Trucker Mike called, you knew there was something wrong.
Well, you could tell there was something wrong, and again, I believe that you always have to help people, and again, we're here as one big happy family, and we're here to help people.
If it wasn't for your show to get this out and to inform myself and inform everyone in MX, we'd be stuck listening to some podcast. So I would much prefer to listen to your show.
By the way, I also want to mention, because Paul Goddard, I want to mention before we go to a break, I want to mention Paul Goddard from Region News Source was actually he knew he knows me. He knew that I was concerned. I didn't want to keep calling you because I figured you had your hands full, okay? Yeah. And I knew MX was on his way, and I figured when he got there he'd have his hands full. So Paul Goddard right away, Region News Source, they were monitoring the 911 call, and he was telling me, he's like, the ambulance is on its way. The ambulance is on site. Okay, he's giving me basically a play-by-play, which I just thought was remarkable.
Oh, yeah.
So again, it shows how this radio community can come together during difficult times.
And I do want to mention, I know thank you and the radio station and Fox News and the Times. And then I start thinking, right? And I just kind of my anxiety got up. Why is this considered so extraordinary when? I mean, for me, it's just kind of instinctual. I just do it. I've been with
Sure.
Haven House for 15
Sure.
years.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It's just, and Perry has helped multiple people. So I think then I started like getting upset. It's like, this shouldn't be extraordinary, right? And I just, to me, to come and help Mike, there was no hesitation and there was no apprehension or anything. And I just take care of your neighbors. And Joe talked to me, and he goes, what made you do it? I said, it was the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
And I want to leave it at that. We're going to take a quick break again. Mike, we're so happy that you're doing
Can I
well.
say one thing?
Sure, go ahead, but then we're going to have to take a break. So
okay, I do photographs. I do my thing.
yes.
And what scared me the most is because I love taking pictures of beautiful sceneries and everything going on, and I was so scared that I'm not going to be able to do my pictures anymore.
And the good news,
the drone is not going to go up for a while.
No, but the good news is that your eyesight's coming back, and you're going to be okay.
But
and
just,
again,
first thing I want to thank God. He kicked it in and got you all everybody to do this. Thank everybody, and just the thing is, just everybody help each other out.
absolutely. And we'll leave it on that. Again, Dave Gurman, Trucker Mike, MX, thank you all. And thank you, listeners, for listening to this. And hopefully it sets a good example for what everybody else can do on a moment's notice to help someone in need. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I believe we have a caller from Patricia who was on last week talking about the Greek Fest. So keep it tuned right here. We'll be right back. It's the Morning Call with Tom Dabertin on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM.